I got to see Rocky Horror Picture Show live. And when I say live, I mean I got to see it at a theater, which honestly I was kind of uncertain of how it was going to play out. I've heard stories about, these midnight screenings, Rocky Horror, where they go and they're kind of, the crowd's very interactive. I didn't expect it to be a show where you watch the movie and they're putting on a play in front of it. It exactly reminded me of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, how they're kind of acting out Rocky Horror. They had the movie playing in the background. But instead of being on like an actual stage, it was in an actual movie theater. We were sitting in the movie theater seats. You had the big screen, and the actors and actresses were on the aisle level, so you could still see the screen above them, and they were acting out the film as it was going, and they were interacting within the audience and coming up the stairs and running across the. There's like a break in this one particular theater. There was a break, like a alleyway or I guess called an aisle. I'm sorry, not alleyway, an aisle going across in the center. So they were coming across there. And I had to say, I've never seen Rocky Horror before. This is the first time I've ever seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. I knew about it. I knew what it was about. I had a basic concept of the film. Of course, Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of my favorite movies. I saw it like 4 times in theaters and countless times after it came out on Blu-ray. So I had a very strong idea what Rocky Horror was. I remember that scene vividly from the film, and honestly, watching it live, that's what it was like. It was like being there, watching him do the put on the Rocky Horror Show, or Rocky Horror Picture, doing the show. It was one of the coolest experiences, and I'm still kind of torn whether or not I should have watched the film first before going to see it live. I actually went to TikTok and said, I got tickets to see Rocky Horror live. I didn't know they were going to do a performance. I thought it was just going to be like, when people go see The Room, I've heard stories about people, they bring forks and they yell at the screen and throw forks, and it's very interactive. I didn't know it was going to be this interactive. And so I was kind of torn what to do. Most people said just go in blind, watch it. It's going to be a great experience. And I have to say it was a great experience. Although I kind of felt myself distracted while watching the film, because I'm trying to watch the film and watch the actors and see all the interactions while watching the film. So it was kind of like a little... I felt like it was a lot to try to take in at one time. Again, this being my first time seeing the film. But overall, it was a fantastic experience. They're yelling at the crowd. We went through the whole thing, even the opening, which is like you actually got a goodie bag. Well, it was like $2. I bought a goodie bag of stuff like you throw at the screen. Well, they still don't throw it at the screen. They throw it behind you, which is odd. Nobody actually threw anything behind them, so that was kind of good. So I got my goodie bag of stuff. Everybody's yelling slut when Susan Sarandon's character came on, and when the guy came on, everybody got asshole, and it was a very interactive kind of thing. It was very funny. Like it was without question one of the most interesting movie theater experiences I ever had. Usually, I hate when people talk, interrupt the film, and have commentary during the film. There's actually one guy, I'm pretty sure he was part of the stage crew, and he was sitting up front, and he was yelling things at the screen in between like pauses, and he was yelling stuff even in the beginning before the movie started. They were like, have you seen Rocky Horror 100 times live? Sit down. Everybody was standing up. And he's like, you got no life, or something like that. He was saying some pretty good vulgar language, but I know on YouTube you're not supposed to use a lot of vulgar language, or else your videos get flagged or whatever, so I'm not going to use a whole lot of vulgar language. And it was a very interesting overall experience. Now, as far as the film goes, it really took me by surprise. I'm usually not a big musical fan, but I did find myself really enjoying this, and I felt that it was very well paced. Tim Curry was just phenomenal in this film. Like, definitely interesting. And a lot of people talk about the ending and not really liking how the film ends. Now, like I said, first time seeing Rocky Horror, I'd never seen a live play. I'd never seen anything else really on it, other than, again, I've seen a lot with The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I've seen that scene many of times. So, again, if you haven't seen Rocky Horror, spoiler alert, which I usually don't do spoilers in my reviews, but for this one, we're going to do a spoiler. The entire premise of the film, which I did not know, is that Frankenmurder is actually, they're all actually aliens from Transylvania, which is another planet, which I never understood. I did not know that. So the ending of the film I thought was very strange, but I thought kind of worked. It definitely is not a very complex and dense film. There isn't really a character arc. It's just a really fun musical, which I find myself hard to say because I'm, again, not a huge fan of musicals, but the numbers are so upbeat and so interactive. There's a lot of witty comedy throughout the film. Yes, it is a very highly sexual comedy film, so it's kind of like a sex comedy musical with very fun, interactive sing-alongs, I guess. I mean, some of the scenes, again, I've seen bits and parts of, I guess, just through other variations of media. And, you know, there's certain parts you just kind of know are coming. Again, because they're just very infamously, like, known scenes. So overall, though, I have to say I really enjoyed the film. And I highly recommend seeing it live because that was just a fantastic experience. Like, I didn't realize, you know, what it was going to be like, and it was definitely a lot of fun. And come to find out, they actually, at the one theater I went to, they actually do live screenings every second weekend of every month. So definitely something I might check out again. Like I said, if you haven't seen Rocky Horror, definitely a film to check out. I would say watch the film first so you kind of understand the premise of the film and what's going on, so you're not feeling like you can kind of multitask on both, especially if you're going to one where they're going to be actors and actresses acting out the film as it's going on. Because kind of going into that, not ever seeing the film, being my first exposure to Rocky Horror, and it being a live interaction like that, I found it a little bit challenging to kind of follow what was going on and really pay attention to the film. But again, at the same time, it's not an overly complex film, so you can kind of do that. Me personally, I just really like to... I feel like I didn't get to appreciate the film as much as I would have if I watched it first, because I feel like there's so much like small details and just performances that I kind of missed on moments of throughout the film, just because, again, you're watching the screen, you're watching the actresses and actors play out the film, and you're listening to the commentary guy. It's just so much going on. I definitely recommend seeing it live, but if you haven't seen the film, I would recommend checking that out first, just so you kind of get a better understanding of what's going on. But even if you decide just now I'm going to go in blind, it's a great experience. It's a experience. It is an experience. Definitely wild. Definitely nothing like you ever experience in any other screening. And I've seen a lot of films in theaters. I went to a lot of midnight screenings of various older films. I've been to film festivals. I've never in my entire life going to film theaters ever seen something on that level. And it's definitely worth checking out. Have you seen Rocky Horror Picture Show? What are your thoughts? Comment below. Let me know.